The rape of Nanking, humanity abandoned in 6 weeks of hell. We stabbed them with bayonets, cut open pregnant women and took out the child. I killed 5 or 6 of them myself. I used to do some pretty brutal things. Kodera Yoshio, former Japanese soldier, Honda, 2015. This is the shortest day of the year, but it still contains 24 hours of this hell on earth. Dr. Robert Wilson, diary entry in Nanjing, December 21, 1937, Brook, 1999. A massacre with no purpose, only pain. In December 1937, after the fall of the Chinese capital Nanjing, now Nanjing, during the Second Sino-Japanese War, the Imperial Japanese Army unleashed a campaign of unspeakable brutality that would come to be known as the Rape of Nanjing. Over the course of 6 weeks, Japanese soldiers killed, raped, tortured, and desecrated hundreds of thousands of civilians and disarmed prisoners of war with a cruelty so profound that even Nazi officials stationed in the city were horrified. More than 250,000 lives were lost. Tens of thousands of women, including girls as young as 7 and elderly women in their 70s and 80s, were raped. The scale and sadism of the violence have led many historians to compare it to the Holocaust, with Nanjing earning its place as their Asian Auschwitz. This article recounts not only the historical facts of the massacre, but also its psychological and moral legacy, one that, tragically, still struggles for full recognition in the global conscience. Prelude to Horror, the Fall of Nanjing. Following Japan's invasion of China in July 1937, the Japanese Imperial Army rapidly advanced toward Nanjing. Despite fierce Chinese resistance, the city fell on December 13, 1937. What followed was not a military occupation. It was an annihilation. The Japanese High Command never issued orders to massacre civilians. But it did nothing to stop the killing. The lack of leadership, combined with systemic militarism, racial superiority propaganda, and a deeply dehumanizing view of the Chinese, allowed thousands of Japanese soldiers to descend into an orgy of slaughter that defied every code of conduct, military or human. Rape as a weapon of terror. Rape was not incidental to the Nanjing massacre, it was central. Women were gang-raped in front of their families. Fathers were forced to watch the violation of their daughters before being executed themselves. Girls were dragged from their homes and gang-raped for hours or days until death brought release. Pregnant women had their stomachs slashed open with bayonets, their unborn children impaled or thrown into the air and skewered on blades. Some women had firecrackers or grenades shoved inside them before being detonated. Others were mutilated with bayonets or forced into unnatural sexual positions with objects, animals, or relatives, torments filmed and photographed for the soldiers' entertainment. This cruelty was not the action of a few rogue units. It was systemic. It was endemic. Even Japanese soldiers later testified to their own horror, like Kodera Yoshio, who later became a serial killer in post-war Japan, replicating the sadistic acts he committed in Nanjing on Japanese women until his capture and execution. Slaughter without restraint. The massacre was not limited to sexual violence. Tens of thousands of Chinese men were rounded up and shot, decapitated, bayoneted, drowned, burned alive, or buried while still breathing. Many were tied together in groups and machine-gunned into the Yangtze River. Others were used for practice by Japanese soldiers in live bayonet drills. An infamous example of the disregard for life was the killing contest between 2 Japanese officers, Lieutenant Mackay and Lieutenant Noda, who raced to be the first to kill 100 Chinese men with their swords. The event was proudly published in Japanese newspapers as if it were a sport. Animals, too, were mutilated or burned alive, as if no life deserved mercy in the city of Nanjing. The foreign rescuers, a flicker of light in endless darkness. Amid this unspeakable violence, a few Westerners in Nanjing chose to stay and protect civilians. Led by German businessman and Nazi Party member John Rabe, these individuals established the Nanjing Safety Zone, where they sheltered over 200,000 civilians. Missionaries, doctors, and professors worked tirelessly to keep people alive, often risking their own lives. Dr. Robert Wilson, an American surgeon, kept a detailed diary of the massacre, documenting the endless streams of raped and mutilated women who came to him for aid. His words, "Hell on earth," were no exaggeration. Ironically, Nazi officers, conditioned by Hitler's own monstrous ideology, attempted to intervene with the Japanese in defense of Chinese civilians, demonstrating the grotesque scale of horror the Japanese army had unleashed. Legacy and denial. Unlike the Holocaust, the rape of Nanking has never received widespread international condemnation or reparations. Japan has refused to fully acknowledge or apologize for the massacre. Textbooks omit it. Leaders visit Yasukuni Shrine, where war criminals are enshrined as national heroes, further deepening the wounds of survivors and their descendants. Official statements are often vague or evasive, and efforts by victims to seek justice are routinely dismissed by Japanese courts. This denial not only dismisses the memory of over 300,000 victims but also impedes reconciliation between Japan and its neighbors. By failing to confront this dark chapter with honesty, Japan risks repeating the cycle of historical amnesia, allowing nationalism to override accountability, and perpetuating a dangerous precedent that atrocity without acknowledgement can be quietly forgotten.